One. Hey, how's everybody doing today? Welcome back for another episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk. And I am excited about this episode today. I have with me today Sue Mintz, and she's with a her own company called Retirement Hood. And I'm going to let Sue kind of talk about who she is, what she does, and whatnot here in a minute. But this is a really important topic that we're going to be talking about today. So if you're somebody who just pops in, takes a listen to the first few seconds, I would encourage you, highly encourage you to listen to this entire episode. It'll be very impactful for you today and into the future. And with that, Sue, how you doing?
Yeah, great. It's getting ready to storm here in Dallas, Texas, but I think we're ready. So we may have some natural rain noises, thunder, lightning, whatever, but let's go ahead and move on. First of all, Mark, thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast. I'm thrilled. I was so excited to meet you when we were in Austin several months ago for the Disrupt HR event.
Great
And
event.
there I spoke about try it was a networking event for HR professionals, and my mission there was to encourage those professionals to consider thinking about an offboarding process. And by that I mean helping their employees, their retirees, plan for the non-financial side of retirement. We do so
Yes.
much about onboarding employees. I think it's just as critical as offboarding, especially when it comes to retirement. My background has been in HR, leadership development, training, and career coaching. And when I retired, I realized that I wanted to continue down that same path. So I got certified as a certified retirement transition coach. And a lot of
Excellent.
people are like, what the heck is that? So,
What does that mean?
okay, so what does that mean? That means I do not talk about money. I talk about the transition from a career into the next phase of life. And, so many of us think that it's just going to be, pie in the sky, wonderful. And it is at times. And but what a lot of us don't know what we don't know about this transition. It's just like marriage, and it's just like, having children and going off to school. I mean, those are all transitions. And what I try to do is I try to help prepare individuals for this next phase of life. And I refer
Yeah.
to that as the non-financial side of retirement.
It's interesting, Sue. So many people that I'm sure you've talked to, I've spoken with, they're like, "Oh, I cannot wait to retire," and they're
Right.
like, "I just need to make sure I have enough money in the bank so I can do whatever it is that I want to do." And when you talk to them about what is it that you want to do, they're like, I don't know, I'm just
Yeah.
going to do something. I'm not going to be working," and
Right.
that so I really like that you focus on the non-financial pieces. um you in hearing you speak and in just having conversations with you, you recommend that retirees prepare a holistic retirement plan.
Right.
um what does a holistic retirement plan mean? And how should what are things that folks considering retirement should be looking at?
Sure. So, what I consider a holistic retirement plan is, from the time we were growing up, we saw our parents, and one of the things that they always encouraged us to do is to save money because
Mhm.
that's so important, and it is, and that's like the foundation for retirement. So, what I look at retirement planning in terms of a holistic plan is just not planning to have a wonderful nest egg and everything that you need in order to have a fulfilling lifestyle in terms of money, but also plan for the non financial side. Because, money helps us sleep at night, but it doesn't get us out of bed in the morning. And one of the things we need to really think about is what's going to get us out of bed in the morning, what's going to give us purpose, what are some of the things that we will miss about working and plan for those things. So no doubt financial planning, is so critical, and we need to really focus on that. At the same time, to complete the holistic plan, we need to plan for the non-financial side of retirement.
When you're talking non-financial, you're talking like hobbies or travel or volunteering. What are the things that make up the non-financial side, and what are things that people who are considering retirement, what are some things that they should be looking at?
Okay, totally. We look forward to travel. We look forward to being with our family. Those are all things that are part of the non-financial side of retirement. A lot of times, what my clients typically find useful is when we bring up, okay, what is it that you love about work? And how are you going to replace that? Because there's so much that we lose when we retire. For instance, we lose our identity, we lose being appreciated, we lose our social network, we lose structure. That was one of the things, that is the main thing that I really struggled with when I retired.
Hmm.
Is I didn't have structure. I got up in the morning and it's like, now what do I do?
Yeah.
We lose our purpose. We lose the opportunity to continue for ongoing learning. Those types of things also need to be incorporated into the non-financial plan. How are we going to replace those things?
You can only go to so many coffee shops and you know,
Right.
uh, and try and replace the social aspect of who
Exactly.
you might be.
Yeah.
With having, you can only have so
We
much
lose
coffee
our
each day.
social network.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you think, okay, everybody's, oh yeah, we'll get together after you retire, we'll plan lunch. Well, guess what? That doesn't always happen. So you have to
Yep.
go out and you have to ensure that you have a social network, because being socially engaged in retirement or any part of your life is critical to your overall health.
So is one of the things that you coach folks on is focusing on where their passions are, um,
Absolutely.
in their non-work life, whether that's, you know, church related or spiritual related or
Sure.
travel or an inherent need to learn, or pickleball,
Pickleball. I mean, why not? Why not? I
Exactly.
tried it, not so good. So, so I continued on, riding my bike.
Yeah.
Um, no, but yeah, that's so critical. Is yes, we do spend a lot of time on, what is your new purpose and what's going to bring meaning to your life. This is a time when it's time to give back.
Yeah.
And I spoke to a lady yesterday, and she was telling me that, when she retired, she just kind of fell apart. And
Mhm.
right now, she is doing something that she actually did years ago and in the same field. And she said, I'm just so, and it had nothing to do with her job.
Yep.
And she said, it's just bringing so much satisfaction to me because I feel purposeful. I feel like it's meaningful and I'm giving back. And I said, you know what? It's like going from you a role to your soul.
Ah,
And that's what really, there's an opportunity out there to go from a role to your soul.
yeah.
Um, I heard somebody speak the other day about how much time we spend during our career, 20, 30, 40 years. And the question he asked was, since you've retired, how much time have you thought about that, or have you talked about your career? And it's like, not much. So that was really kind of an eye opener for me. It's like I spent so many years, doing something, and do I talk about that? Not so much.
Yeah. You mentioned something a few moments ago that, when you're working, it's it becomes who you are, your identity in a lot of
Right. Right.
in a lot of situations. And unless you're in that professional circle that uh, in retirement, you still have that professional circle of friends
Yeah.
that you associate with and you grab lunch with or coffee or whatever. Um, Nobody will understand the type of work that you did or the experiences that you had uh, in in your professional life. Unless they walk those miles with you, so to speak.
Of course. Right.
And now, I mean, folks are living 20, 30, 40 years in retirement as well. And how do they what are some strategies that you would have to prepare them for creating those awesome experiences?
Well, I mean, there's a part of my coaching program. It's called Now What, and it's like, retirement. There's different phases of retirement.
Mhm.
It's not an event; it's a process.
Yes.
And the event is we have a party, we have a cake, we celebrate. Then we go on our quote retirement honeymoon. And then we sometimes fall into what's called the messy middle. It's like,
Mhm.
now what do I do? Now what do I
Yep.
do? And then we end up in what's called the new normal. And sometimes we go back to the messy middle because the new normal isn't really what we thought. So that's what we did. It's not what we thought it was going to be. And it's not really what we want to do. So we go back and forth and try to figure out, okay, let's clean up that messy middle and let's figure out what it is that, like you said, is going to bring us a new identity, new purpose, feeling valued. It doesn't necessarily have to be a job. Like
Yep.
you said, it can be working with a religious organization. It can be it can be volunteering, doing anything you want. It can be spending time with your kids. It's just so important to have a new purpose and a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it can really um, fall into some health issues if we don't do that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not unusual for retirees to go on their retirement honeymoon and then fall into a place where they're just, you know, they're miserable. They're miserable.
Mhm.
In fact, that's how I got into what I do. I read an article, or my husband read an article in the Wall Street Journal about a gentleman that was extremely successful on Wall Street. And he woke up one morning after being out of work for 6 months, and he had all the money he needed. But he woke up one morning and he goes, "Now what do I do? I don't know what to do." So he found a retirement coach, and that's where I learned about being a retirement coach.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's always interesting how people fall into their next chapter,
Right?
and it's not always on purpose.
No, no, not at
Sometimes
all.
it's out of necessity. Sometimes it's out of, you know what, I think I like this, and I think I can
Yeah,
find value for others, in doing this.
right,
So I love that story, Sue. That's how you got into the work that
right.
you do now.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Um, the one thing that I see out there, talking with folks, I'm in my mid 50s, so I have
Mhm.
a lot of friends that are older than me, and I have a lot of friends that are younger than me as well. And the thing that I always hear my older friends talking about is, um, this is my plan for when I get into retirement. What happens when those plans don't always turn out the way they folks anticipate them? How can you help someone navigate through that frustration, or that's an emotional event too?
Right. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like going through any transition.
Yep.
We think we're gonna, you know, love to be married. We think we're gonna love to have kids. We think we're gonna love to do all sorts of things. It's like any transition, and that's a potential.
Yeah.
So what I do is I bring them back and I'm like, okay, well, what is it that you don't want to do? What have you learned from, what you've experienced? What is it that you don't want to do?
Yep.
And a lot of times that helps us figure out, okay, what is it that we do want to do? I think a lot of times we just go into something that we think we're going to be comfortable with. But what's fun about retirement is that oftentimes we go into something that, oh, did you just hear that thunder?
Yes.
Um, that's what happens in retirement. It's like,
Exactly.
we do something that we just, anyway, um, we sometimes, go into, like you said, we go into a place that we're not comfortable with, and then lightning strikes,
Yep.
and then somehow we figure out what it is we want to do, and it's a process. I mean, it's just not talking about what is it that you don't want to do and what is it that you do want to do. I mean, we go through some exercises that maybe they go back to something that they wanted to do ever since they were a child, or they
Okay.
wanted to experiment with something that they're afraid to do. But we talk about, okay, well, how do you get over that fear? What is
I
it that we
I
could
loved it. I love it. Do you find, and I have some friends that actually did this as well. Do you find once people get into that retirement mode, they're like, yeah, this isn't for me, and they actually unretire and go in a completely different direction. Um,
absolutely? Unretirement is happening,
yep.
and that doesn't mean that you have to go back to full-time work. It means you can go into part-time work, just something that will bring you a feeling of purpose and meaning and feeling valued. And what happens a lot of times, people unretire is because they miss being with people. They miss being around people, and they want to be around people. I mean, I did that. I
Yeah.
really missed it. And I missed the structure, like I mentioned earlier. And so I went out and found a part-time job. And actually, that's what helped me launch my business, is because I met someone in the store as a customer, and she publishes a magazine that's targeted to individuals 50 years of age and older. And I talked to her about, writing for the magazine, and that's how my business got started. But to
Excellent.
your point, yeah, a lot of times, we just have to go back and figure out, okay, well, what is it that I don't like, and what do I need to do to get out of that rut?
I have another friend that talks about you have to do things that bring you joy, energy, passion, purpose.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and everything that we're talking about here feeds right into, you know, who do you want to be? When you get into a retirement situation, it's not who others want you to be. It's more
Right.
about who you want to be yourself.
Right.
Um, so
And sometimes that's hard to figure out, but eventually, there, like I said, retirement and retirement planning for the non-financial side of retirement, it's a process, and it's not something that people automatically think about before they retire. So I think that's one of the reasons why, like you said, you have friends that say they're going to do A, B, or C, and then they get into that and it's really not what they wanted to do.
so how does someone know when it's the right time for them to retire?
I heard a quote recently, and it's the right time to retire is typically when your time is more valuable than money. And you money definitely makes a difference, obviously, but a lot of times when people are financially, set, they will retire a lot of times because they're just burned out
Yeah.
and they're just tired of working. Like you said, we're all living a lot longer now,
Mhm.
and there's a big runway in front of us, and they think,
Yep.
gosh, I've been working so long and I want to get out and I want to have fun. I've got a lot more time to live, and I want to do something that brings me purpose. And a lot of times that will come when people are just frustrated with their jobs, burned out, have, you know, a lot of, new employees come in and they don't feel as relevant as the retirees don't feel as relevant as they used to feel. And that's just kind of one of the reasons that a lot of people retire. Not the reason, but
Yeah.
that sometimes tells us when it's time to retire.
So I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball here. But
Uh-oh.
I think based on your experience, I think it's something that you can speak to. And, ageism in the workplace is an issue. And
It
so if
is.
you have somebody that um, is contemplating retirement, but they feel they also have a lot more to offer the organization, but they don't feel as valued from an organizational standpoint, what can a company do to kind of help balance that out? To work with
I really so, and this I think more and more companies are noticing
uh-huh,
that it used to be called the silver tsunami,
uh-huh.
where, everybody, those of us that have gray hair, they leave. But it's really not. I mean, we don't want that. We don't want the silver tsunami. We want people to stay that have so much knowledge and experience in a company. And a lot more companies now are considering giving retirees the opportunity to kind of transition out of their jobs and
Mhm.
maybe work part-time,
Yep.
or as a mentor, or provide their skills, offer their skills maybe to another department, where it would be refreshing for both the retiree and for the organization. So, no, to
I
your
love it.
point, ageism is a thing. It
Yep.
is a thing. But, and have had clients like, well, I really don't know if I want to retire because I
Yep.
love my job. And I'm like, you know what? If you love your job, continue doing it,
Yeah.
and go talk to your boss or go talk to someone in HR about, what is it that you can continue to do for the company, and talk to them about the value that you can bring, and stay there if you can. So
Is
yeah,
do you
it's a thing for sure. It's a
do
thing.
you do you see, Sue, where companies are kind of leaning more into the whole mentoring process? um, with more experienced employees, really helping, um, the more novice employees kind of get through their um, their initial years, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I think they're beginning to notice the value in
Hmm.
doing that. And I think they're also beginning to notice the value of intergenerational working partnerships. You
Uh-huh.
know, I mean, those of us that are 50, 60, 70 years old, whatever,
Yep.
we could learn a lot from those that are younger, and those
Yep.
that are younger can learn a lot from us. And a lot of times they don't think they can, but I think they can. And I think we can learn. I think we can learn a lot from them. So I think mentoring is picking up and being noticed. I'm not sure that it's, where everybody wants it to be at this point, but I think there's a lot of potential there.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, so just to kind of wrap up, I know you have some storms in your area as we're recording this, and I want to always be a good steward of your time. But if you had 60 seconds to coach someone on retiring to a life they love, what advice would you give to somebody?
Okay, I always talk about the three-legged stool.
Hmm.
I talk about they need to have financial plan. They need to have a plan that, and they need to think about, and they need to think about their health. I
Hmm.
think, and when I talk about health, I don't mean physical health, just physical health. I think about what are they going to do to remain emotionally, mentally, physically healthy?
Yep.
And what are they going to do to make sure they have a great financial plan?
Hmm.
And time. What how are they going to spend their time? And that's
Yep.
what we've been talking about. Because if one of those legs of the stool, falls or breaks off, then the other ones will be impacted. There's a big there's such a relationship between staying mentally, physically, and emotionally healthy,
Hmm.
and whether or not we're gonna be able to have we're gonna have the time that we want to do, because we don't want anything to interfere with the time, because we don't want to have any regret. We just don't want to live with any regrets. We want to have the time to do what we want to do. And
Yeah.
retirement is a great way to, you know, kind of move into that direction. No
You know,
regrets.
I love that, and that really dovetails back into a lot of retirees wanting to spend time with their family, and
Absolutely.
there may have been regrets earlier in their professional career where they missed things, or they didn't get to spend the time that they truly wanted to with their families, and now they have the opportunity, and don't miss that opportunity again.
Right.
You know.
And a lot of times, spending time with family and doing things that you love can really stimulate and, elevate our health.
Yes.
It really can. We get away from work that, oftentimes can drag us down, and we start doing things that we love, and it really influences and makes a difference in our overall health.
Love, love.
And since we're living a
Sue,
lot longer, we want to have good health. We want our health. We want to be healthy.
good mental, emotional, and physical health. I mean, it's the key, and everything else seems to have a way of just taking care of itself.
Exactly.
If you have those circles that are really there to help support you, and as we get older, I mean, obviously those circles shrink, but being
Right.
out there, being social, you just never know. Uh,
Right. Right.
so
Remaining social is huge. Is huge.
excellent, excellent.
We
Well,
don't,
Sue, this is
and that's
go ahead.
something else, and I'll just end on, is
Yeah,
that a lot of times retirement can bring loneliness. People become very lonely,
yeah.
and loneliness is just as dangerous as having, somebody said the other day, lung cancer. I mean, so what we want to make sure that we do is we want to make sure that we do whatever it takes to stay mentally, physically, and emotionally healthy.
And for those of us who aren't retired, engage with people who are. Um,
Exactly. Or
you
go
know,
talk to people that have
yeah,
retired and talk to them about, what lessons have they learned. That's a
yes.
huge that's some advice that I give clients a lot. Yeah.
For just being a good human, be intentional about your relationships, and
Exactly.
and don't let other people's have those feelings of loneliness if you can at all avoid it. You know. So
100%.
Sue, Sue, this has been a great conversation. I am so glad we are finally able to
I
get
know.
together on this
Yes.
episode. Um, if you're interested in talking to Sue about the work that she does, If you're interested in becoming a client of Sue, um, or want her to come out and speak to your organization about the importance of the non-financial side of retirement. She does an amazing job. I've seen her in person at the Disrupt HR here in Austin, and I would definitely hire. I would definitely reach out to Sue. You see what works for everybody. Now, Sue, how could somebody get in contact with you?
Okay, thanks. I've got a website, www.retirementhood.com. You can reach out to me, send me an email at Sue Mintz, SUEMINTZ at retirementhood.com, or give me a call, 214-676-1888. I'd love to visit with you.
And if
And Mark,
anybody
again,
reaches,
thank you. This has been wonderful. It's brought some sunshine into this cloudy day.
that's awesome.
So
And Sue, you brought some sunshine my way because this is such an important topic, for people to really be talking about openly and thinking about, as so many of us are nearing that magical age. For
right.
me, I know I'm never going to retire. I love what I do
Well, then don't
too
retire.
much. Yeah, exactly. Um, and if anybody wants an introduction with Sue, feel free to go ahead and email me. I'd be more than happy to do a virtual intro with Sue and see where it goes from there. With
Great.
that, Sue, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, your knowledge, your expertise on the subject, and I look forward to future conversations with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark. Have a great day.
You too now. Thank you.
I enjoyed this very much.
Say